Bismillah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all the participants. We are from Group 1, and today we would like to talk about finding digital tools and apps, evaluating the learning experience. And for our group, our work is basically based on the article from Olsen and Morat in 2020. And today we would like to answer some of the questions required relating with the article itself. And now we would like to start from the first question. It is about why is it necessary, and it will be elaborated by Alvin.
Okay, thank you. Why is it necessary to evaluate this aspect? One additional framework to keep in mind when evaluating the learning experience of digital tools and apps is the International Society for Technology in Education, or ISTE, standards for students. Given the rapidly shifting technological landscape of present-day society, students need technology-rich learning experiences that can prepare them for work and life in his uncertain future. The ISTE standards for students can serve as a guide for evaluating digital tools and apps to determine whether and how tools might amplify and enrich the student learning experience and provide students with opportunity to develop their knowledge, skills, and capacity as learners. Using the ISTE standards for students as a lens for evaluating and using digital tools allows you to identify which tools to use and ways to use tools and apps to create 21st century learning experiences that prepare students for the future. Okay, next question will be elaborated by Aji.
Okay, thank you very much, Alvin. The next question is, how can you perform the evaluation activities? So according to Olsen and Mauret 2020, the evaluation activity can be performed by utilizing learning theories, Bloom's taxonomy, and the ISTE standards for students as a guide for evaluating and determining which tool to use based on the learning experience you would like to provide for your students. Okay, next. Okay, as we can see, there are 5 elements of learning theories: behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, constructionism, and social learning. So for example, uh, the tools that can be used for behaviorism is Kahoot, because behaviorism means students learn by responding to an external stimulus. And Kahoot is one of the best tools that can be used to stimulate students' learning through quiz. And then the second is cognitivism. The tools that might be suitable for this activity are Google Drawings, Padlet, etc. The tools that can provide students to can help students to make a mind map, because cognitivism means students learn by organizing and processing information. So the use of mind map really useful for students in cognitivism learning theory. And then the third is constructivism. Constructivism itself means learning activity happens through meaning making and the interpretation of information. So the tools that can be used for this theory are Google Tour Builder or any other media that enables students to learn by doing. The fourth is constructionism. The tools that can be used for this learning theory are Scratch, Tinkercad, Pencil Code, and other tools that can help students to produce physical artifacts as a way to build knowledge structures. because constructionism means students learn through building tangible things. And last is social learning. The tools that can be used for social learning are Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, and other social media that can help students learning through observing, communicating, collaborating, and interacting with others. Next. Okay, the second uh, elements is Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy consists of 6 categories. The first is remember, second is understand, the third is apply, the fourth is analyze, the fifth is evaluate, and last, the sixth is creating. You can see in the PowerPoint, remember, related to behaviorism. So the tools that can be used uh, is the same as what learning theories in behaviorism use tools for their students. Okay, next. The third element is ISTE standards for students. ISTE stands for International Society for Technology in Education. There are 7 standards which emphasize the use of technology to help students develop higher order thinking skills and the capacity to succeed as learners, citizens, and professionals. The first is empowered learner. Tools in practice, for example, the application, the website Feedly. Yeah, Feedly is a RSS reader and information aggregator. It is beneficial to follow news topics and blogs that support their personal learning and growth. Because empowered learner means that students use technology for self-directed learning. And then the second is digital citizens. It means students build their awareness of their privacy policy and data collection. So students can use hypothesis that is to annotate a privacy policy for TikTok, Snapchat, and other social media that can develop their awareness of the data collection and privacy rights when using digital tools. The third is knowledge constructor. So students demonstrate an ability to conduct research, find and evaluate information, and curate information and resources. So such tools in practice is Wakelet. So in Wakelet, students can use it to draw connections between current issues and class topics. The fourth is innovative designer. So the tools that can be used is Tinkercad. Students can use it to design a water conversation tool for their school or home because in innovative designer, students engage in a design thinking or an instructional design process to identify and solve problems with technology. The fifth is computational thinker. So it means that students showcase an ability to think and solve problems like a computer. So they can break big problems into smaller parts that can be easier to analyze data. So the tools that might be useful is Google Forms because Google Forms can help students to collect the data in an easy way. The sixth is creative communicator. In creative communicator, students craft messages, express their knowledge and opinions, and communicate complex idea using a variety of tools such as cameras, audio, design software, and other platforms like blog, social media, YouTube, and so on. So in this way, Adobe Sparks can be useful to create memes, for example, posters, infographic, websites, and videos that can educate the public about an important social issue. And lastly, is about global collaborator. So students use technology to connect and learn with individuals from around the world who present unique insights and diverse perspectives. The tools that might be beneficial for the activity is Slack. So Slack is kind of website that students can use Slack students can use to collaborate on real-world projects with classmates, community members, peers at other schools, and professionals in the field. The next presentation will be presented by Fauzan.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. So on this section, I would like to give a sort of like a case example of this evaluation procedures. Based on what Aji has mentioned, in this particular slides, I would like to give like a example of how a learning theory can be implemented through with the use of technology. For example, in behaviorism, we could use the use of Kahoot games, and this can be a useful approach to helping students memorize and recall terms and facts about the U.S. Bill of Rights. For example, if we're talking about U.S. Bill of Rights, and educators can design or use pre-designed Kahoot games to help students memorize constitutional terms. And then next one, there's cognitivism. For example, if the case is to identify the purpose of the three branches of the U.S. government, we can use a Google Drawings to create a mind map in order to help the students organize the informations. And then the third one, there's a constructivism. For example, if the case is to draw connections between Shays' rebellion and today's disagreements on the role of government, a constructivist approach would allow students to generate new knowledge related to their current political landscape with the use of Google Tour Builder that can be suitable for this case. And then there's also a constructionism. If the case is to create a 3D model to represent the Declaration of Independence, this one really fits well with the support of Tinkercad also, just like what Aji has mentioned, a digital 3D modeling tool that students can use to construct or modify historical 3D models. And lastly, there's a social learning. And the case, if we're in a social studies classroom, students could engage in a debate about free speech using Flipgrid or Twitter to discuss current educational challenges like media literacy in the age of fake news by using topic hashtags. And then the next one, it's based on Bloom's taxonomy. So for the first section, it is remember. So remember, it entails about recall, recite, list, or identify information. And for example, we can take a teacher as the one who creates a flashcard deck on Quizlet for students to review, play games, and take a practice assessment about U.S. constitutional facts. And then there's also understand, which actually explain key concepts and ideas. And we can use this, like for example, Google Drawing. So students can use to create a visual summary of the expansion of voting rights in the US Constitution, for example. And there's apply, which actually means demonstrate, model, solve, interpret, and so forth. And in digital practice, we could use a Google Trends to interpret present-day First Amendment issues, for example. And then there's also analyze, which actually means making connection or differentiating between ideas, deconstructing informations. And for the digital practice, we can use pictocharts to compare and contrast a founding father with a modern presidential candidate. And last, and there's also evaluate, which actually make a judgment based on specific evidence and reasoning. And we can actually use Flipgrid, for example, in order to create videos to reflect on their progress as learners, on students. And lastly, there's a create, which actually invent a product, construct a new idea, or remix something created by others. And for the digital practice, we can use Tinkercad, just like what Aji has mentioned. And we can use this to create a statue for a founding father that represents their biggest contribution to present day society, for example. And then the next one is based on ISTE standards for students that will be explained by Albert.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fauzan. Now we will move on the ISTE standards. The first one, we have to empower learners. Now, in this part, we can use Feedly, so that students can digitally enhance personal learning network and seek feedback to improve their knowledge and skills. Next one, we have digital citizens. In here, students can use hypothesis.is to develop their awareness and data collection and privacy rights when using digital apps and tools. Next, we have knowledge constructor. In this part, we can use Wakelet, collections of news articles, blog posts, videos, podcasts, and other online resources, so that the students can build their knowledge by exploring real-world issues. Then we have Innovate Designer. In here, students can use Tinkercad to express themselves and to design a conversation tool for their school or home. Next, we have computational thinker. In here, student can use Google Forms to collect data about an authentic problems or issue on their community. It is to show ability to think and solve problems like a computer. Next one, we have creative communicator. In here, students can use Adobe Spark. Students can use it to craft messages, express their knowledge and opinions, and communicate complex ideas. And lastly, we have global collaborator. In here, students can use Slack to collaborate on real-world project with classmates, community members, peers, and professionals. Next slide is.
Okay. Thank you for all my peers to elaborate about things that are required in regard with the article that has been given to us. And I think that's pretty much a wrap up to our presentation. I think that's all for us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.